Okay. Okay, okay. Okay, 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 okay. Mm, 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 mm. It's very good, very good. Okay. Mm, 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 mm. Okay, okay. People, people. Oh dear. Whoops, that's the wrong screen. There we go. That's the right screen. People, people of the internet. Oh, I am your resident revolutionary, Octoreges, and today we're gonna be doing some sketchy rigging. I've actually made it pretty far since last time. Hold on, let me get here. So I've managed to get most of the hair, minus the two front bangs here, looking pretty good. There are some areas that I'd still like to fix, namely like right here on the, if you look at the right side of her face, you can see that kind of pointy spike bit here right here is kind of doing some weird things when it shifts. I think that's to do with my warp deformers, and I really I don't know for sure that how to fix that exactly, but the good news is that if I go here to my physics settings and we get opposing, everything looks pretty good. Um, there is a little bit of jaggedness on this other set of bangs right here in the front that you'll notice as she moves. I mean, you might notice. I don't know. If you do, that's fine. And that's because I have that mesh set to a higher count. Because I couldn't quite get it to work out to be really nice and smooth without it pushing it the way that I was pushing it. But I really don't want it to, like, at any... I mean, unless she's, like, raising her eyebrows or something. At any angle, I really don't want it to, like, cover up where her eyebrows are so that she can still be pretty expressive. The other bangs that go in front of this, I can show you guys that real quick. Let's see. That's going to be in here. Let me open up my deformers. So that's going to be, let's see, these pieces here. So those pieces will cover them up. And that's why I really don't want these side bang pieces to cover them up. Because this is already going to be moving and stuff when you have physics. I mean, the side bangs are too, but this is going to add more side physics stuff to it. And so I really want, but you can see like how ugly the middle bangs are looking right now. And so everything else comparatively is looking better. There are still some ugly bits on some of these, like this right side bang here could use like a heavier mesh deformer so that you're not getting weird stuff like this happening. But if you'd add a heavier mesh, you have to add a heavier mesh for everything, and so it gets kind of annoying to mess with. So if it looks pretty good, I may leave it. I also might be really meticulous and go back and fix it. So we'll just have to see how that goes. So the first thing we're going to do is get these side bangs done with their heavier meshes. I actually need to give this one a heavier one. Give it the heavy deformation on that. So we're going to go ahead and fix those up so that those are looking good, and then we're going to move on to these other front bang pieces here. The good news is once I get that done and I get the bald cap pretty much settled where it's going to go, we're pretty much done with the front hair, at least with the bangs, and I can move on to doing the rough XYs for the back hair, which is what I was trying to get to the other day, and I did not make it. I was working on this over the weekend. So anyway, this is gonna be what we're gonna do with the 4th left bangs and the 4th right bangs, and we're just going to be getting those situated. I'm gonna start with these angles and make sure that they look good even with the heavier mesh. It looks like they're gonna, though. This one could be fixed a little bit. And so this is the stuff I'm talking about, where it needs to be smoother. Whoops, the transition between where this stuff is. No. Okay. Need you to be deselected. So we're literally just going in here and on these individual points, kind of smoothing out the way that this looks so that it's not got that choppiness to it. And having the heavier mesh settings lets it be smoother. So that way, that looks pretty good and you're really not going to notice too much. Same kind of thing here. You can see how this is kind of pushed up oddly. We're just going to do our best to kind of fix this kind of stuff here. And if we get it, like, you know, in the ballpark, that's what I'm looking for. It doesn't have to be crazier than that. I just want it to be close. So, like, that's pretty close. I think that hair spike tuft looks pretty good there. So, like, that's done, right? That's the X on that side done. We'll do the X on the other side in a second. First, we're going to go up here and we're going to do the same thing. So this curve is looking pretty okay. There's a little bit that I could just kind of smooth out there, but otherwise, but right here needs to be fixed. And this is how this goes, pretty much. Yeah, I think that didn't ruin anything. So yeah, gonna be more of a chill stream, and actually probably a chill couple of streams. I really don't think that we're going to be doing a whole lot of streaming anything else this March until this is done. So hopefully I can finish this up in just a couple live streams. We'll see. Because ideally that's what we would do. But if we don't, I mean, because I really want the commission to be done in March. So if we can finish it up in a couple live streams, great. And we'll move on to streaming something else for the rest of March. Probably some Minecraft or gaming related stuff. But otherwise, this is going to be what I'm doing on Monday nights for the foreseeable future of the month. Maybe longer, depending on how much homework I have to do on the weekends and whether or not I can get that done in time to do all this stuff, you know? So really something like that. Let's see, is that going to look good? Or do I want it to be more curved than that? I think I want it to be a little bit more curved than that. Good news is I can kind of fix that without really having to do this individually. The individual stuff is really just to straighten out the harsh edges when there's stuff that we decide we don't like about it. And then we can kind of come back in here and just, you know, fix other stuff. Doesn't have to be real complicated. At least not too very real complicated, you know? You can get really meticulous with this sort of thing when you're doing Live 2D. I know when I was doing Nana, the Grandmaster of the council, when I was doing her model, I did a lot of, I call this hair sculpting. There might be another term that somebody else uses for it, but that's what I call it. Because you're really going in here and you're being really, especially when you're using heavier meshes like this, and you're being really meticulous about, does it look good at this angle? Does it look good at this angle? How's the transition between how it moves? It's a lot of that. You also have to do this when you do physics. It makes it easier if you've done all this before you start the physics, I've learned. But if you don't do it before you start the physics, you're gonna have to go back and do it after you do physics, which tends to be annoying. So but you can really see here, like this is a really good example of how this looks. Like this is very broken in some very just very noticeable kind of way. Also, we're poking out here, so I'm gonna shrink that back in a little. But this is just very broken at the moment, so we need to kind of ease up on where this is. It shouldn't be too hard to fix. But sometimes mesh like breaks like this, especially if like you were doing what I was doing, where you're trying to get a lower count of vertices on your mesh to behave like a higher count one, which is what I was doing with the hair. We will probably, unless again I just decide like, well, it looks okay, and there's not really a reason to change it, I will probably add heavy deformation, like higher vertice count, point count on all of these guys. Because at the moment they all have the default one, but if I add the higher one, there will be a lot of this like smoothing out that I have to go back and do on all these pieces, but it will end up with a smoother looking result, which should be nicer. So, you know, that's one of those things, especially when you're doing rigging like this, like you just kind of have to decide like, what's it worth putting the time into doing, like, is it worth putting the time into doing that? And the only reason that I would leave it alone this time is because I am doing this one for free. This is my last free VTuber rig that I will ever do. Probably. Knock on some wood, but probably anyway. I don't plan to do any more of these for free. This was a favor to my friend Sketchy. And I mean, you know, it is good practice, but next time I do one of these, I'm going to try to do it for actual money. So that would be the only reason that I would kind of cut back a little bit. Otherwise, I think you'd pretty much be standard to do a heavy mesh. I'm pretty sure the Mario Yume tutorial, which I have been following, and it's not linked in the description of this stream, but if you look at one of my previous streams, it'll be there. I don't always remember to do that, and I probably won't be using it this stream, so I like to link to that because it's what I learned off of, and I think it's a good tutorial. But if you just Google it on Facebook, or not Facebook, what am I saying? On YouTube, Mario Yume, Mariuyume, you'll be able to find it, and it's a pretty, you know, extensively detailed tutorial. It doesn't teach you how to do anything beyond the basics for a rig, but you can get something like there's Regis rig that I set up, or like Nana's rig, off of that video pretty easily as long as you have the artwork for it. So, you know, if you have some good VTuber art, you can get something that looks like this. And, you know, I don't think it's too bad. There are some things that I would like to learn how to do better, but I think it's pretty good so far. It's actually something that I would like to spend some time doing at some point. These will probably be streams this summer when I have more time and I'm not working and actively wrangling dragons. You see, dragons, when you wrangle dragons have like the on season is from like, you know, early early August until late May, and that's when you raise them, and then they have their migration period in the summer, and during that they aren't around, and so you don't have to worry about, well, at least I don't have to worry about working during the summer months. So, you know, June and July roll around, or really like the last week of May too. We may do some work on the Regis model. I'd like to do some revamps. There's this really cool rig setup that I've seen. I don't know how to do it, but you take your arm and you can actually get like the fingers and everything to roll, which is not something that my model. Hold on, I'll pull it up and you guys, I'll show this off. The one viewer I have can see this. So like if you look at it now, like my hands are kind of just noodles. They don't really do much, you know. I mean, they go back and forth, and if I turn this way, you can see like the hand switches which one's in front, but that's about as extensive as it gets. Most of the stuff for me, and for Nana too for that matter, are in the it's all in the top, guys. It's all in the top. It's just the head mostly that moves around. I'm gonna bring me back down where I'm supposed to be. Anyway, so that's mostly where that stuff goes, and there's not a lot of, oh dear. Okay. Oh, are we working? Okay, we're back here. Okay, good. Anyway, and there's not a lot of like other movement for it, but I've seen some more advanced rigging jobs where like the hands can do a lot of stuff. One thing I'd like to look into, I don't know if you can do this with a live 2D model or not, but I want to see if you could do like hand tracking and see if I could set that up, and if that's something that I could rig. I think that'd be fun. Oh dear. So those are things that I'm considering trying to spend some more time on, and I will probably, I've thought about making like a completely new model, but that's also very time consuming and annoying. And it also, like, a lot of times when you do that, you have like a whole, which I know I don't really have enough of a following that this would matter if I chose to do it right now. But you also tend to do like a whole rebrand. Like when people get a new model made, they tend to do like a whole brand change, and they like slightly change up their character's identity and all that kind of stuff. And for Regis, I'm just not really interested in doing that. See, that's looking a lot better. It's still not perfect. You're not going to get it perfect unless you go in and you do it on the mesh itself, like on the actual layer, which is not good rigging practice, by the way. But you just want something that looks about this smooth. You know, if it looks about this smooth, you're going to be good. Nobody's going to notice when it's in posing and people are using it for streaming and stuff. Like nobody's going to notice that this is a little bit bumpier than it was when we put it at center. Actually, it's not even all that much bumpier, really. So you really, like, from this distance, you're not going to see it. It looks just great. And that's what I'm saying. Like, you can be really, really meticulous with this if you want, like really, really meticulous. But you don't have to be, you know. You can get pretty close. And a lot of these are pretty close in a lot of the different positions. Like, they're pretty close. So it's just about whether or not I want to do the extra work to go back in and do that when you're not going to see that big of a payoff, like, difference without doing. Oh, my model froze for a sec. Okay. Like, when you're not going to see that big of a difference in the hair. So it really just kind of depends. I may start physics and then go back and see, like, you know, if it doesn't look good, I may go back and change it. And if it doesn't, you know, and it looks fine, then I may leave it. Because with these pieces specifically, the way that I'm moving this mesh, and you can see my mesh here, I pushed up the bangs and I pulled them down at a weird angle when she moves this way. And because of that, I needed it to be heavier so that I could get it to look smooth like this. Especially at the corners. If I go back to the corners, you'll really be able to see, like, actually, it might have made it better just doing what I did on, yeah, it's gone too. But you see, like, here, like, where it covers up her eyebrow like this, like, I want that to not be the case. Like, if she moves her eyebrows and her eyebrows, like, go, like, surprise, like, oh, they're higher, like, fair enough. Okay, that's fine. I mean, Regis's do that, you can see. I raise my eyebrows, like, they're covered by my bangs. It's fine. Oh, but I want that to mostly be by that. I don't really want it to be by her side bangs here. I don't really know exactly why I'm saying that. I think it's because here they're not covered. So I feel like in the other areas where she's looking, they really need to not be covered either. And you're just kind of, in animation we call that preserving mass. For something like this, I don't know that that's super duper important. Really, I mean, you could do it the other way. I'm just choosing to do it this way. I think it's just what makes the most sense to me. So haha, take that. When you rig something, you can decide what makes the most sense to you. But I'm choosing what makes the most sense to me. I mean, also following your notes, because this is a commission. But I am following the notes, though. I think that's one of the reasons that it's nice, like, especially if I do work on the Regis model later. That is one of the nice things about learning to rig yourself versus having a rigger do it. I know this is kind of a weird thing to talk about because, like, I want to make money doing this. So I really shouldn't tell people, like, oh yeah, you should learn to do it yourself. But it is one of the nice things. Like, you have more control over what your character looks like, and you're not at the mercy of the whims of the person who's doing the rigging for you. Which, of course, I mean, you know, if there's something that people don't like, they could always come back and critique it, and then I'd be like, well, yeah, I'll change that for you, you know. Because at the end of the day, you want your client to be happy with what they're getting. Oh. Let's see, the X and Y really don't. I mean, the X's really don't look so bad. It's mostly the Y's here. I won't do that in a second. I don't want to mess with that. I mean, what even is that? Luckily, like, it was really just this one over here mainly that was broken. This one's actually not bad, except for specifically right here. And again, a lot of that was really caused because I tried to fix it with the lower poly count, lower vertices, the lower points, and it just didn't work. Which just happens sometimes. A lot of art is trial and error too, especially when it's technical art like this. What I consider technical art, where there's a bunch of stuff. 3D modelers get the same kind of criteria, you know. When you're taking something and you're trying to get it to look exactly right, and you're dealing with a program that runs on math and computer stuff, that's technical art. Technical art is kind of tough. Be very meticulous. It's kind of like painting. I mean, traditional artists have it too. It's not a thing that's like exclusive to this. It's really all artists, you know. Trial and error. You learn new things. You pick up new stuff. You get annoyed when your vertices don't do what you want them to do. And you wonder what was the point starting this career to begin with. And then you get existential and you question all your life choices. No, I'm just kidding, guys. I'm just kidding. I mean, it is true, but I am kidding. All right, there we go. So like that's pretty close, and a lot better than the choppiness that I was having. So that's those. Don't tilt the head, please. And now we can start looking at the. Oh no, I linked it to the set. That's my bad. I needed to link these. So now we can start looking at the corners and fixing some of this other stuff here. So I think it looks like I'd started on this one, and this must have been the one that I was trying to fix before. Now I just have the mesh that'll work for it. Just like this. When I finish editing all of this for the model, all these live streams and stuff that I've done, I've been doing recordings when I've been working on stuff off camera, and I'm going to make a video covering the process for the design. And I'm going to be putting that out on the channel. So if you're interested, keep an eye out for that. It probably won't be out. I'm going to try to finish the model in March, and then that video probably won't be out till sometime mid-April. If I edit it that fast, which may not be the case, and it might be sometime in May that comes out. But that's the rough plan. Then you just got to check and see, like, does this look right? You can kind of see, like, it sort of falls down a little bit. And I think that's good. I think it goes down a little far. You know, pull this back up a little bit. And then readjust my curve a little. And now it falls a little, but I think it works pretty good. We will fix this one in a minute, but I want to get the lower corners for this one done first. I think we do want to try to make this stick out just a little more. There's only so much you can do with collapsing space like that too, but that'll help it match up with this a little bit more. This one's going to be foreshortened because it's closer to the canvas. And we're going to pull some of that out a bit more as well, I think. I guess as a result, we will have to put this back a little. Because I don't want it to feel flat, you know? It should still feel like this is coming off of her face. There's only so much you can do to combat that, but pulling it out a little bit does help. Tend to anyway. Just tends to help. I'll stick that there. You're gonna see some of those gaps too. I don't know. I'd almost like to try to stop that from happening, but then run into situations like this where like that doesn't match up. Guess I could fix it that way. But see, that's still a thing. I don't know. I don't think that's this part of the bang problem. That they fix it on the other part of the bangs kind of thing. Trying to compress a line like this too is something that is kind of tough and not always worth it either. You just don't want it to look bad, really. As long as it looks pretty close to something good. Best thing to do does tend to be just to take it as it is. Or try to push it out a little bit more. Kind of equalize things. Like that. So again, you know, that's not perfect, but I think it's to the point where you're not super gonna notice. From the angle that it is. So I think that's kind of okay. Could be worse than it is. So I think we'll kind of take that. It's pretty good. So then we're gonna go up here. And up here things get a little more interesting because we actually don't really have a problem with the bangs here other than that's a little bit high on her forehead. So I may try to widen that out a little bit. But otherwise, it really does look fine. So, I mean, we might just pull this over a little here. But that's really going to be the only thing. We're not going to do a whole bunch else with this. Except for up here, where we are going to move it over and up a little bit. Because in this situation, I do actually want this to cover most of what's happening there, and then we'll join up the other one on the other side. You're still going to have these gaps, but I think that's going to be more of a top bang spike kind of thing to fix, or L side bang 3 actually might be it. So I will go back and correct that when I go back and correct it. But now, you know, that's looking better. The other thing to remember about these is that both these side bangs are going to be covered by that front bang that we do. So it doesn't make a ton of sense to spend an overly long amount of time working on this part when that is going to get fixed with the other one. We're going to pull this up a little here, pull it over just a smidge more. And this will be a situation where we can do this like so. Now it's matched up. Now that probably is going to cause some slightly wonky kind of movements, but it's the corners, so it'll probably be fine. Mostly I just want those to match up correctly. That's here. And then over here, we just sort of need to fix some of this stuff in reverse as well. Move that. This needs to move over so that it connects a little bit more. That's really it. I don't really plan to do much more with that. Maybe either pull that out more, or what I'm going to do is sit back a little. But that's going to be it for the ups. These actually ended up looking pretty good. Just checked both sides, but yeah, I think this is fine. Showing off a very front part of her head. Things are looking 3D. It's nice. And now we have to fix So we are going to move this back a little bit. It's only 7:35, guys. You're like, streamer, why are you saying it's only 7:35? Because the streamer's dinner is ready. He would like to go eat some. We're gonna get these bangs corners done, and then that's gonna be that. So there we go. So now that's about equal on both of the top parts. I mean, you know, we do need to still fix some of this other stuff, but we will do that. You can see here too, like, you see how the R side bang, like, this is just kind of lumpy on the top here. I'd like to fix that. That's another thing that would be helped by a heavier mesh deformation. Okay. Now we're here. This one, obviously, already is fine looking. And this one's not bad. We just need to kind of move some of its parts back here. We are probably going to do a little bit of mesh breaking when we do this. If we don't do mesh breaking, I'll be very happy. See, told you, a little bit of mesh breaking. And we're just going to slide it out a little bit too. And then, I mean, this is kind of going to follow suit for a lot of this. Especially because we want it to be similar to this, and it is. So it's going to be a little bit higher than where that is. It's not going to be quite that high. Maybe something about there, and then we're going to pull this out just a little. So yeah, something like that. In general, I think is going to be kind of the way to go. And then just pull more of that out. Now we just have to come down here and fix it. Now this is largely going to look fine over here. I'm not going to touch this one a whole lot. I think it's mostly fine how it is. But we are going to touch this part of it and get it to look nice. Alright, there we go. So now you can see that one's looking more or less like how it should, you know. I mean, this upward, like the angle that the hair is at here, it's not perfect. So it's not going to look perfect. But in general, you know, it is working a decent amount. Things look a little bit more even here than they do over here. I wonder if I can fix that. Okay, yep. And then we should just be able to finish off this one, which doesn't need a lot done to it, really. All it really needs is for this to be straightened out. Which again should be a fairly simple process. Hopefully. think it's one of the cool things about this Live 2D program is actually that, you know, I mean, you really can. If you want to be, you can be this meticulous about doing it. You can be this detailed. A lot of people won't even use the auto meshing like what I'm doing. They will make their own meshes because they have such a like streamlined process for how they rig things that they've actually been able to figure out, here's the best way to make the mesh for how I like to rig the hair, and then they use that method, or for anything else for that matter that they're happen to be rigging on the model, and you can get some really cool effects with that. There's a lot of room with this, even though it is technical art, and even though it is like, you know, things have to be put in a specific way in a specific order. There's a lot of room still to be creative with this and experiment with different ways of doing modeling and that kind of thing. So I followed a tutorial and taught myself off of that Mario Yume tutorial on YouTube, and I know how to do this, which I would consider pretty basic rigging, all things considered. There's not a ton that's fancy here. I've done some things, but a lot of it's there. So let's take a look at this and just see how it's looking. You can see as she's going to move her eyebrows around, and it's still going to collide a little bit. But when her eyebrows are neutral, they shouldn't really be clipping into the bangs too much. And again, if they clip a little bit, that's not a big deal. I just didn't want it to be like happening just because she turned her head. Like they should be moving when you see that. And pretty much from every angle, things should be looking pretty good. And I think they are. We'll switch to a different pattern. Sometimes you can see, a lot of times with the A and B patterns, it's really not showing you what's actually going to happen when you put it into VTube Studio or whatever other app you're using to render the model. It's kind of just showing you random inputs in a specific sequence, like she's shaking her head in pattern B and in pattern A. And you'll notice, like, if I move Regis too much, like, it's kind of defined how much she's going to move, right? I can kind of shake back and forth like that, but even that, like, it doesn't really look bad. Similar thing with this. All this sliding and stuff that's happening here is not really, I mean, it's something that exists within the model, but it's not something you're really going to see. Because if you look at posing really gives you more of a, this is how it looks when somebody's moving more naturally. So you don't have as much of the sliding going on. This looks pretty natural. Barring a couple of things that I see that I do want to fix some more, but in general, it's looking pretty good. So I think I'm going to break for dinner. I want to go eat because I'm hungry. And so that'll probably be for about 20 minutes, 20-ish minutes. I'll probably be back around 8:15. And then we will work on the other parts of her front bangs and the scalp and see if we can get that mostly in order. And after that, we'll probably move to the back hair, trying to get some of that going. I don't know. Hopefully the back hair should be easier. It shouldn't have to be as meticulous as the front bangs and stuff have been. Thank you, Daniel. I will have a good dinner, and I will be back. I'll leave you guys the music so you can kind of just chill. Okay, I'm back. I have had the dinner, and now it's time to finish some bangs. Oh. Well, that's certainly something that happened. Is that going to change anything? No. And in general, I think this is looking good. So, let's move on to... I mean, do you see how many bangs XYs I have over here on this side of the screen? Like you see, there's 4. And that's not even... Because technically there's 5. Because there's a 2.5. So there's actually like 10 of these just for the bangs. And people wonder why it takes so long to rig a VTuber. This is why. This is the reason. But anyway, so we're supposed to be doing the bangs, guys. Quit letting me get distracted. So this is probably the piece that we want to do first because this is the biggest one. But we could also do this side first. We're definitely doing this side first. And then there's this like wispy kind of piece, but we'll do that one last. So this one first, layer 8. Here we go. We're gonna call this first center bangs XY. I'm bad at typing, but there we go. Okay. I don't know how big this one needs to be. Let's just make it, and then I'll adjust. Because it doesn't need to be that big. Inspector panel. Like, I really think like a 14 by 16 maybe, or possibly even less. Possibly, yeah, it's going to be less than that. So maybe like a 12 by 14. I'm going to keep the same ratio, just like, yeah, that's good. That's good. That's good. Okay, I'm happy with that. And then the panel controls, we're going to want at least, I don't know if we really need 4x4 for this, but maybe 4x3 or 4x2. 4x3 seems good. I think we can get it with a 4x3 because 4x4 is going to be this. And that's too much. Yeah, I think a 4x3 is what we want. That seems good. Gives me plenty to mess around with. I think the ratios on that look nice. Let's go with that. And now we give it 3 parameters on angle X and angle Y. So I could change that so you guys can actually see. Welcome to the other 3 people who joined the stream, by the way. We have 4 concurrent viewers now. Hi, guys. Welcome in. So we're going to start with the X's. Oh, boy. Oh, boy. Oh, dear. Do you see how it looks here? Do you see how this looks? This is not great. Let's just move the... Nah, that never worked if I want it to. Let's just do this. Bum, 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 bum. Oh, you know, I should have sent a picture in the Discord of what I had for dinner. I had beef stew tonight. It was really good. It was really tasty. And I have a feeling that all of you people watching are people who are in the Discord. But if you're not in the Discord, go join the World's Council Discord. It's a really cool place, full of really cool people who all want to take over the world. So that's what we're doing. It's a great time. We actually don't really want to move it in the Y direction at all if we can help it. Okay. I think that looks pretty good. Maybe we could move that part out a little more. Where did this go? First center bangs. Okay, here we go. Like right there specifically, I think could benefit from being just a little bit more poked out. Yeah, that seems good. I think that's a good size for it. Yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah. That looks so natural. Very nice. Good compression. Solid. Very solid. Okay. So the other direction. This one's gonna be a little trickier because we are gonna see some of it. I just don't want this to mostly match up with that angle. But I think a lot of this is really going to be shrunk more towards this side here. I just do still want it to have this, like, distinction there. Okay. And then we'll kind of move this in. Pull it back this way some. Doing the center hair pieces really shouldn't take too long because it's really more of just like, does it look pretty natural when it moves? I think it looks fairly natural going this way. I don't think it should be protruding quite as much here in the center. So maybe something more like that. And we'll probably, let's see. I do want that to be that way. I think I am going to break the rules just a little here. And very slightly move up the corner of this. Because I don't want where her bangs are positioned to be. Similarly to the eyebrow thing, I don't want this really to be covering her eyelash there. So there we go. Very nice. That looks better, I think. So it does move up a little, but I think that'll be okay. All right, so now we move on to Y's here. We're gonna move this down. I don't really know why that was up, to be real with you. I think we will do some of this here. But not, I mean, there's not gonna be too much of this going on. We're gonna shift this down just a little. Gotta fix whatever's going on with that. I'm not sure. I may pull this down just a smidge more, but that's really gonna kind of be it. for that. I'm mostly just gonna kind of let it sit there in the center. And then we're gonna do the opposite for up this way. I do have to be careful about how far up this goes, but we can do a little bit here. Of shifting stuff up. And then okay, I'd say that's pretty good. We're gonna want to pull a little bit more out that way. Like so. There we go. Alright, that's looking pretty good. Now we're gonna link them. Then we're gonna do corners. Because oh boy, this is what corners look like. I might also try synthesizing them. That might make things go a little nicer. Just a little bit. I'll give a little bit. I'll give a little bit of my... You see, like, that one looks pretty good, actually, there. So that one won't take us too long to fix. That one's ugly. Ick. I guess it does kind of follow the hierarchy, though. This one down here is pretty ugly. I'm not really a big fan. And over here. Alright, let's start with the one that I hate the most. Let's start with the one that I dislike most. Hey, Prime. Okay, But this one is not even really the direction it's moving. Like, she's looking up, like, which is fine. Just more everything else. I do like how much it looks like it's coming off of the screen though, which is accurate for how this part in the center here looks. I do like that aspect. I think that aspect is good. And I think that like this corner is like an interesting angle on her face in general. I like it pretty well. The transition from this to this, I think, is fairly believable given the angle of her face, which is nice. We'll move on to the second one the one I hate the second most. Next would be good, I think. Similar thing here, we're just gonna kind of shift stuff until things look good. Or at least better than they look now. Getting the XYs done is so important because that is, I mean, the physics are what sell it, but the XYs are what the model looks like. So it's kind of like the difference between like, I'm an illustration artist, so I do a lot of drawing and that kind of work when I'm not doing like technical art like this. Also tends to be the kind of art that I do a lot. But like, especially when you're doing something like this, you really, or sorry, like when you're doing an illustration, okay, you want your illustration to have good anatomy. You know, one way to put it, if you just wanted to put it in more like general non-art terms, is like it's got to have good bones. And if your bones are good, then the rest of the artwork is going to look nice, right? You can fix a lot of stuff with rendering. And physics, when it comes to Live 2D, is a lot like your rendering, right? There's a lot of stuff that when you put physics on it, physics on it, I can talk, thank you. It's gonna look good, right? Like it's gonna look decent. But if your like angles are bad, if the angles and the XYs, because that's really your angles, if your XYing is bad on your model, then the model is going to look bad. You know, and you can make it the bad model look good with rendering, with physics, but it's still going to look bad at those angles. And so like doing the angles is really where you improve the most and where you want stuff to be. Because after this, I will mess around for like I don't know, for each different part that we give physics to, like at most maybe an hour, 2 hours, 2.5 at most, for each of these things to get physics, right? Because physics is a much more streamlined process. You take the thing, you make it move in the direction you want it to move. You move it back. You see if that looks good. If it doesn't look good, you start over. But if it does look good, then you fine tune the movement itself, and then you're done. That's physics. It's really, I mean, it's a lot. It's just about as time consuming, kinda, but the whole process is a lot simpler. XYing, you have to like constantly go back and forth and like check your angles and make sure everything looks right. Like it's the really meticulous part. It's the line art, I mean, really it's the anatomy, but it's the line art. It's the part that like if you spend a lot of time on the anatomy and the line art for your drawing is going to be good regardless of how you render it. And that's kind of the thing. So I guess that's kind of my art spiel for the night. But like the point is, don't rely on rendering to make your art look good. Have good art and then render it. Thank you. I'm Octoreges. This has been my TED Talk. And if you're like me and you like to draw things at weird angles, then just good luck to you. You're gonna have to learn. You're gonna have to learn the anatomy, pal. And a lot of the time it's gonna look like you don't know what you're doing. But such is life. Alright, so these corners are now looking good. I mean, the transition here, but it does look the way that it is. I mean, it looks how it's supposed to look, okay? It's looking how it's supposed to look. So now we're gonna move on to these corners. Starting with this one, because this one's my favorite corner. This one looks so good. It's like the perfect child, you know? This one, not so much. But it's not so bad. One of the other things that's cool about Live 2D, just as a program too, is like when I do the synthesized corners thing, I cannot talk tonight, guys. When I do the corners, okay, the program, when I click on that button, the program will take my plus symbol, right? It'll take my X points and my Y points separately, and it'll be like, okay, here's the rough idea of where a corner should be based on where you have this other stuff. And it gets pretty close to the point where you just have to go back in and fix stuff. So it's not like you have to take it from the beginning and then do corners, because that would be really, really hard. And the coolest part about it is that, like, it does that without me really having to click the button. Like, it will just, by default, the corners will kind of exist. And then clicking the button will make them a little better. And then I have to go in and make them, like, the best. I mean, not the best, because I'm not the best ripper, but, like, the best that they're going to be. Does that make sense? I kind of feel like it doesn't, but, you know. You guys probably get the idea. And even if you don't get the idea, I really don't know how to explain it any better. This is just the way that Octoreges' brain works when it is almost 9 o'clock at night. Which is to say, it does not. I'm not the hugest fan of this edge. Like, could we not improve this a little bit, guys? I mean, come on. I just want it to be straight. Is that too much to ask? Apparently. Okay, that's a lot closer. That's a lot. I can kind of live with that, sort of. Okay, it's still not perfect. That's a lot closer to where it should be. We're also going to move this out a little bit more than it should really be with the look that we have, but I really want it to look like the bangs are kind of, you know, protruding from her face a little bit. I really don't want them to cover her eyes too much, but something like that, you know, that way it looks like it's a little bit more 3D than it would have otherwise. Which does tend to be a little bit more important than you might think. Because we are taking a two-dimensional image and trying to fool people into thinking that it is 3D by bending it and warping it in different ways. And that's how Live 2D works. And if I do my job correctly, you'll never be able to tell that it's not 3D. I mean, you kind of will, but, you know. Let me have the fantasy guide, okay? You shouldn't be able to tell. I feel like that one should almost be over her eye a little bit when she turns this way. Like here, it's fine. I don't know. Am I being a little too picky about it not covering her eyes? Because in reality, it probably should cover her eyes. But I would just happen to rather if it did not. If I did kind of go back on that and make it covered a bit more, it would be... Yeah, I do feel like that's better. I'm a little mad that I feel like it's better, but I do feel like it's better. And it still doesn't super cover her eyes too much. Like, it does a little, but I think we're just going to have to live with it. You can kind of tell, too, this is another thing. You can sort of, if you've done this for a little bit, like I have, you kind of get the feeling for, like, if your mesh is breaking too much, it's probably because your anatomy is wrong. Like, you're probably trying to push the model a little bit too far. There are instances where you want to do that, by the way. But if you really feel like you're getting that a lot, it's probably because you're trying to push it a little bit too far. But I think this is good. Like, you know, you get the sense that it's there for the most part. You know, you might play with some just pulling that and this out a little more. But really, that's pretty close to good there. I think that makes some more sense there. Could do something similar, I guess, on this side here. I like that. I don't know. I do think that just makes it look a little more 3D. It kind of gives her a little bit of a tangent line, so I'm not the biggest fan of that, but I'll live with it, I guess. Because I do think it makes the rest of stuff look a little bit better. This could really be pulled back more. Yeah, okay. And then finally, the perfect child up here. Last one. I'm not gonna stretch that out too much, but just a little. Pull it down some as well. Okay, there we go. And that should... Yeah, in general, that should be pushing us kind of in the right direction with this. I'm happy with that, I think. Check the physics and see how that looks when we go to posing. But you see how it starts to be a lot more believable, right? Like, it doesn't look like her hair is getting mashed like it did the last time that I was doing this. If you were here to catch the last stream, or you watched the VOD. Her hair finally looks like it's moving more or less in 3D space. Which is very important. You want that to be the way that things look. You want stuff to overlap and do other things. One thing that I'm considering doing is the spikes on the top of her hair there. I may go back and give them individual XYs, just so that I have a little bit more control over them moving when she looks in different directions. Because I think it would be good if, specifically on the dangly bits, if they moved a little more. But in general, you know, I mean, this is looking good. And we're about to the last 10 minutes of stream, so I think what we'll do... Oh, sick, a stream, says Andrew. Oh, sick, Andrew, the stream was about to end in like 10 minutes. So... then we want to do the other side, which is this piece, right? RIP, says Andrew. RIP. Thank you for being here anyway, Andrew. I appreciate it. Would you like to see how the sketch is looking? Allow me to show you. This is how the sketch is looking. I would say it's a big improvement from the last stream when her hair, she looks very sketchy. She does look very sketchy. I'm gonna take that as a good thing. So we've got all of the front bangs mapped pretty much, which is really cool because that means, thank you, W Rig though. But that means that all we really have left to do as far as like XYs for the face is just finishing up the last little bit of the front bangs here, which I will probably end up doing. I'll do a little bit more on stream, but finishing up that off stream, and then doing the mouth XY, which we'll actually do after I finish all the rest of them, just because it's a little easier that way. But I think it's going pretty good. It's looking nice. All the face angles are fairly believable, I think. I think I've done better than when I did mine and Nana's, for sure. Epic, says Andrew. Epic. It is epic, because once we finish all of the XYs and stuff, then we get to move on to physics. And that is meticulous in a different way, but it doesn't take near as long. Like if you really get into the zone. So I think that will be a fun thing to do on stream. I'm looking forward to it. We'll probably, if I can manage to do this the way that I want to do this and time this well, if I can get between now and the last week, like the last week of March, first week of April, like that week of the 31st, we might try to do like a marathon where we just like crank out all of the physics settings in like the first 3 days of March and just stream during the day. I might do that because that's my spring break from where I'll be like, I won't be at work. Obviously dragons get to take spring break too, so just in case you were wondering, that's why I'm off of work. So, so I may do some more streams then. I don't know. We'll see how far I can get on this on my own before that happens. If it doesn't, then we'll probably end up playing Minecraft or something. But anyway, this is what it's looking like. So we need to make a new, on this one here, a new warp mesh, and I know generally what I want it to be. It's going to be at least a 12 by 14, and it's probably going to be another. I really think a 4 by 2 actually would probably work for this one. Actually, that's kind of a lot. Maybe a 3 by 2. Yeah. 3 by 1? No, 3 by 3. Yeah, probably a 3 by 3. It does mean it won't have a center line. That's probably okay. That's probably alright. Oh, and I need to rename it. This is gonna be second center bangs XY. I typed X instead of 2. I need it to be a 2. And why is it an S? That's meant to be a D. I apparently can't type tonight. Well, we'll go ahead and set this one up. And try to get the preliminary parts of it done in the next 5 minutes. In theory, that should not be too hard. No, come back. How dare... Where did that go? Oh, did I delete it? Sometimes that happens, and I'll hit some key, and it'll make my warp deformer like disappear. It's really rather annoying. The cool part about this one is that I only have to make this look good where it shows up. Because where it's covered, it does still matter. I'm mostly kidding. It does actually still matter. We want it to be good, even when it's not covered up. So we do kind of have to be still kind of meticulous about this one, unfortunately. I mean, it doesn't have to be perfect, but in general, generally I want it to be in like a semi-straight line and not too off kilter. I mean, I need to give this one a heavy mesh. We'll see. Hopefully not, because then I would have to redo stuff. We want this up here to line up pretty well with the top. Something like this is going to be pretty good. But there we go. And then, turn this button back on. There we go, see? So that's going to be her looking to the side. And we'll go to the other side. But something like this. There we go. But there we go, see? Actually, I think I do need to fix that a little bit at the top here as well. There we go. There we go. All right, so you see, that is the main X and Y done there. There is kind of a lot of clipping going on here, but there's a lot of clipping here and quite a bit there too. So I think that this relationship here is fine. We will look on this side though with this off and just see what stuff we can clean up. Again, specifically with this one, it's going to be important that we do that. I think we'll actually just pull that out some. So yeah, there we go, kind of like that. And then this. Depending on how I do the physics for this too, like it might get its own separate physics render and it may not. I don't know, I just have to see how I end up doing that. Because there's a way to separate them out so that things move on. I don't know. That's really a conversation that you have to have for physics. If you were here when I did the eyes, you'll maybe kind of get what I'm saying. But like, there's a way. Well, with the last minute, I'll kind of explain this. So there's a way to like change it so where like when she blinks here, you see how like different things are kind of moving with each other. So you can sort of sync up different physics to each other. And with the bangs, like I'll end up doing some of that as well with them too. So, you know, the middle bangs might all move together, or they might move slightly separately so that they kind of flow differently. Okay, center bangs XY. So we got that done. Now we're going to just do the Y real quick. Shouldn't take long. Famous last words, but it shouldn't. It really shouldn't. Because here it looks like this, and here we're just moving it down some where it looks natural. I'm probably turning this off. See if I can find some. But there we go, something like that. Just so that it lines up with this pretty well. And yeah, I think it does. That's nice. Does everything else look good there? I think so. Okay. So then going to the up part of it. And this isn't too bad either. Usually doing the main 4, I call it doing the plus sign. Usually doing the plus sign isn't so bad. especially if you've already mostly moved stuff into place. Like I have, like there is one big bangs XY that's moving everything up here. It's this one. And everything's already kind of moved under that. I've gotten it pretty close with that. So it's just going in here and fine-tuning things. Seeing if there's anywhere that we want to change stuff slightly. Making sure that some stuff isn't like flipping into other stuff. Kind of like that. I may pull it back up a little, but I'll probably stop it about there. But that seems decent enough if it looks like it matches up pretty well with that. And it does. I think I'll make this curl a little bit more though. Should be able to do that without really interacting with anything else too much. That's really one area where it would, I think, benefit from having a little bit of a heavier mesh. I think I can kind of get there though. So just double check this again. Okay, there we go. I think that that adjustment should have got it. Now I've got that there. Pretty good. There is one more piece to do with these, but I'll have to do that off camera. It is this part. And it just kind of covers up the seam there, so you can't really see it as much. And it's really ugly right now, so we're gonna have to fix that one. I also may go ahead and turn on the bald cap just so I can see what that's gonna look like. And you can see that in the corners, this part, our secondary bang is not gonna look great in the corners, but that's okay. Let's go ahead and go to modeling physics settings and let's take a look at what this is looking like. This kind of follows the pattern A tends to follow mostly cardinal directions. This one kind of shows you more the corners, and you can see a little bit where it's breaking there, but overall it's not too bad. There are also some parts there where the scalp is breaking. I will fix that later. I just wanted to kind of see how that was doing, if that was happening some. We will adjust that so that she doesn't have bald spots. And then in general, if we look at posing, Yeah, I don't think this is too bad. Could definitely use a little bit more fine tuning. I think more specifically like at the top during the up angles where it kind of looks like stuff is squished up there. I could give that a little bit more space to breathe. But otherwise, I think it's looking pretty nice. And I'm going to have to make the her scalp match up to the rest of it too, so that it looks right. But not too bad. It should end up looking really, really nice once we actually get hair physics on it and everything is moving. But the bones are looking good. I'm liking the bones. Okay, very nice. Only a little bit more to do on that. And then we'll do back hair. So, you know, next week, assume we're going to do back hair unless I've already done that. In which case, maybe we'll be working on physics. But I don't think I'm going to make it quite that far. So we'll probably be doing back hair next week. Hopefully, I'll have some time to finish up the rest of these front bangs this weekend and during the rest of the week. So anyway, I have been Octoreges, and this has been the Sketchy XY rigging stream for the front bangs hair sculpting. That sounded really boring. Anyway, see you, Refusians. I'm going to go for tonight. I'll see you guys next time. This is the Outback. Don't get kicked by any kangaroos. And I'll see you guys later. Turtles!